Hi, in this session, we are going to explore how you can host your web applications using the shell server that's available for the Department of Computer Science at Cal State Fullerton. And the shell server or the MariaDB that we would be using for today is provided only for instructional purpose, and it may be removed after the semester ends. So for those of you who do need to host your individual websites and also require a database that is associated with it, you can submit a request to the link shown here. Now let's look into how you can create your personal home pages using the shell server. What you would have to do is log in onto the server using the credentials that you have, which is your username and password, and use a change directory command, CD, to get to your home directory. Now, once you're there, you want to create a new directory, call it as home page. You can use the make dir command for it. And then you would add the right kind of privilege. So the +X here is for changing the mode to add the permission, which is for the execute permission is what the X stands for. Now you can have the plus or the minus for adding an ability or removing the provided ability. And the dot tells you where exactly you want to change the permissions. So the current location. And in step number 4, you would do the same thing for the home page that you have created from step number 2. Next, you would start by creating your web pages, for example, an index.html or any HTML pages for that matter. Just make sure you place them in the home page directory. Now, you would then go into using or editing or adding the HTML content. And you can start by using VI editor tool, or you can use SFTP transfer as well. What you would have to do is just make sure that you place the HTML pages under your homepage directory. And then you would be able to open your web pages using a web browser of your choice, for example, Safari or Chrome, using the URL where you would replace the angle brackets and the user ID with your ID, which is your username that you have on the shell server. Also, make sure that whatever HTML files you work on, you add the right kind of privilege. At least you have the read permission and the execute permission on these HTML files. Next, I will talk about a secure file transfer program that you can use for Windows, Mac, or Tafix. But before I get there, let me show you how you can work on the shell server. All right, so here I am going to go to the home directory, and then I think I'm already in there. Yes, so what you would do is you would create a home page directory that I've already created. So you can change your directory, go into the home page directory, and in here you would run the command as shown in location or in step number 3. But before I do that, I'm going to run step number 3 here, change mode +X, and I would do the same when I go to the home directory. So change mode +X you can do for the current directory, or you can type in the name of the directory. And then I am going to take a peek into the index.html file, which I already have in place, but you will have to create it. And there's some HTML code in it. Now you can exit using the command line, and you would be able to open the same page and see the result in a web browser. So let's do that. Now what you see here is I have opened Chrome, which is a browser of my choice. You click on the link, which has ecs.fullerton.edu. You type in the link. This would be replaced with your username. And once you type in the HTML file name that you've just created, so here we were looking at index.html. That is exactly what I put in the link here. And when you click enter, it shows you what the HTML file was showing you through the command line. Now, what you can see is you have this bunch of HTML code. Keep in mind when you have the index.html file, this is the default file that opens up. So even if I don't type in the name of the file and I click enter, it shows me or takes me to the index.html page. So this can be your web page. If you have a website, this can be your default page where it takes you to get started. Next, let's talk about how you can get away from the command line and still work on your HTML pages. For that, you would have the secure file transfer program that you have to use. And I have the links available here for Windows, Mac, or for Ubuntu. Now, for Tufix, it does come pre-installed with SCP and SFTP that you can use. Again, keep in mind what you have to do is while you're using the SFTP program, irrespective of what operating system you have, you would have to give the host name as shell.ecs.fullerton.edu and choose the file protocol to be SFTP for the secure file transfer. Now, for managing your HTML pages and also linking it to a database, you can use XAMPP, which is useful for hosting your web pages on the internet. And the slides will show you how you can use it for different operating systems. So you click on the download link, you choose a version, and then you locate the XAMPP directory, which would be created once you have a successful download for the software. Now, here are the steps you need to follow. Now, keep in mind, it's not just HTML pages that you can use for your website. You can also use PHP or a scripting language of your choice. And you have the availability of different software. XAMPP is just one of them. You can choose a different one also. Now, with XAMPP on Mac, here are the steps. Make sure you have to place the PHP files in the correct directory, and you will have an option to browse through the XAMPP directory that gets created with the download. And you can click on the Manager OS X to do a bunch of configurations for your settings. Now, once you have to access your web pages, simply go on a web browser, Safari, for example, and type in the location which has to match with where you're placing your PHP files, followed by the name of the PHP file. Now, for Windows, you can do the same, but this time you have a different link and a different user interface. So you will have to start and stop certain services. For example, MySQL, if you are accessing a SQL database using MySQL, then you will need these services. If not, you can totally exclude these steps. Same thing for accessing the admin button, and you have similar options available on the other operating systems as well. And once you do get through creating your PHP pages successfully, you can open up a browser and you would see the output coming from a PHP file. So for example, if we had a PHP page named as first SQL query, here it's a simple query. What you look into is the employee table, where you're selecting all the queries from the employee relation. And this is what the output looks like in whatever tool you're using. Now, you would see similar result if you did run it using the command line. For PHP, you just say PHP and then followed by the name of the PHP file. You can see the output. It's a different format than what you see here on a software, MySQL Workbench. But the idea is the output is going to be the same. Now, this gets transferred to your web browser also. So when you open up the first SQL query.php on a web browser, you would see the results that you are getting on MySQL Workbench or through the command line for that particular query, which is select star from employee. Now, what we did see is you can create dynamic web pages. You can use localhost. You can also use a web server. For example, we use the shell server. You have to have the right settings. Now, if you do want to reset your MySQL or MariaDB root password for any reason, which is quite common when you start creating web pages, here is a useful link for it. And that was all for this session. Thank you.